always, we have a pretty amazing lineup of speakers that will carry us all the way to the closing keynote. First off, we'll get a closer look at GraphQL. Please help me welcome Karen Huaulme.
Thank you very much. I really was not expecting this. I don't know what to say. So I've been like really busy this week. I had a talk on Monday on search, how to build search into your applications. For any of you in that talk, it was a workshop. So I learned a lot from that I hope to incorporate in this talk as well. And then I gave a talk this morning at the, well, I didn't give a talk. I just met some awesome ladies this morning at breakfast at the Duchess meetup. Was anyone in here? Oh, yay, hi. Hi, guys. So that was super fun, and then I've been running around like crazy since then. So my name is Karen Huaulme. I'm from Austin, Texas. The name is French. I usually go by my maiden name. It's my married name, because my maiden name is Wilder, but I've been married like 20 years, so I figure, you know, the marriage is stuck, so maybe I should change the name finally. So my Twitter handle is YouOldMaid, because it's the easiest way for English speakers to remember how to say YouOldMaid. So, and oddly, YouOldMaid was available on Twitter. Who would not take YouOldMaid? So a few things about me. I've been at MongoDB for 5 years. By the way, how many people in here already use MongoDB? Okay, great. This won't be specific to MongoDB in general, but I will kind of go over MongoDB in a little bit. So I've been at MongoDB for 5 years. I started as a solution architect, and I used to write all these little demo apps for all of my customer meetings, and after a while, they were like, okay, you're just not scalable. So they moved me to developer advocacy maybe 3 years ago, and I can't tell if it's because my demos are good or I'm just a really bad solution architect. So, but before I was here, I spent a year at Twitch, where I got to use a lot of REST APIs. I was actually an engineer on that team, and that was an experience, and that's why I'm so passionate about this particular one. Before that, I was at Amazon, then I was at NVIDIA, and I had spent actually my whole career in gaming before I started working in databases, which I always thought would be boring if you worked in gaming to go to databases, but it's not. Does anybody work in gaming here? Okay. It's not a big deal. But before then, so the other things that I do, so what I do to kind of not work, it gets kind of busy and whatever, is I go paragliding. Does anybody here paraglide? Yay! Give me some tips on how to paraglide inside Sweden. So I did this. If you haven't been paragliding, I try and tell people that it's not jumping off a cliff. They seem to like the images this morning, so I thought I would just share this a little bit. This is me taking off in Castellón de Sos in the Pyrenees last summer. And that's my coach. He's a Venezuelan champion. So let me get to the next slide. This is, I go to Colombia next week, and this is what it's like flying in Colombia. It's super calm. So I'm trying to show you how calm everything is flying. See, it's just like a bird. Nothing to worry about. This one was crazy. I was actually in a tandem on this one because we flew around. We took off in Chamonix, and we flew around Mont Blanc. And I can't do that at all. So it was like a 4-hour flight. We took off in Chamonix, and we flew around Switzerland and Italy, and I was flying with all these all these Venezuelans at the time. But it was a life. I had every article of clothing on my body and my passport in case we had to land in Italy and it'd take us forever to get back. But we got back the easy way. And the hardest thing I ever had to do was the hike. And I took off later, the same trip, I took off later from Mont Blanc by myself, at the top, and you just go straight down. But that hike was the scariest thing. It just went straight down on both sides. And I'm from Rockwall, Texas. I don't know. We had in Texas last week, it got to 0 degrees Celsius, and we lost power for 2 days. So that's true. I was like, I can't wait to get to Sweden where they could handle, that. So anyway, to the talk. I'm going to talk about GraphQL today and why I love it. Again, I mentioned that I had some experience That would have been better with GraphQL with what I went through at Twitch. So I'm going to talk about why I love GraphQL and why I think everybody should love GraphQL. And then we're going to set up a GraphQL endpoint very quickly. We'll set up a schema on some data, and then we'll start querying that schema inside the graphical interface. So if anybody use GraphQL already? Oh, great. Well, then you can correct me when I go off the rails here a little bit. So once we have that schema on the data that we have, we'll be able to extend that schema by creating relationships to other collections or tables, if you use. And then we'll use custom resolvers to call different sort of functionality if we have time, get a little fancy with it. And then we'll just do a demo, wrap up, take questions. So I'm going to do all of this with a soccer theme for the World Cup. Anybody a fan of France? So I feel kind of silly to now do it in a soccer theme, but when I applied to do a talk at this conference, I thought this was going to happen. And it didn't happen, so I didn't have a chance to change anything. So we're gonna stick with this, and I'm just gonna pretend that it happened. So my talk on Monday, I started talking on and on about MongoDB and search, and I didn't realize that a lot of people don't know what MongoDB is or how it's different. And it's because usually when I talk to MongoDB specific events. So I apologize anybody on the talk on Monday. So I'm just going to go a quick briefer about what MongoDB is, what a document database is, and how it's different than SQL. Frederick is the guy who told me like this thing. So Frederick is in here. These slides are dedicated to you, and Sergey was one who helped me as well. So let's say Frederick. I have Frederick and I have Sergey, and they're in a table in a relational database. Now, here is their phone numbers might be in a different table. And you see that Frederick actually has 2 phone numbers. And the reason why this is broken up, related data is broken up into different tables, is to save space on storage. Otherwise, we'd have to have a table, and Sergey would have to have a blank if he didn't have a second phone number, etc. So when storage was expensive, when they were creating this, then this was absolutely the best way to go. Inside a document database, inside of a document database, we actually have, it's a key value. So SQL is structured query language, and NoSQL is not NoSQL, it's not only SQL, which means it can be SQL, it can be simple key value pairs, and it can be so many more things. So this is the sort of standard format of a document inside of a document database. You have the curly brackets, you have the key, colon, value, comma. But the value can be lots of different things. The value can, for instance, that same those tables, if I had joined those tables for Frederick, so Frederick is now joined, then he has his name, Frederick, and his phone number. Those 2 strings are now combined inside of an array. But it could be an array, it could be another object, it could be an array of objects, it could be an object of arrays, it could be all sorts of different things, whatever works best for your data. So before, if I was writing an application and Frederick was a character in my application, in my game, or whatever, I'd have to use him in the game, I'd have to hit both those tables, I'd have to join them, a couple of IOPS there. But now, because I know that I'm going to use Frederick, I can just do one fetch to the server and get Frederick back completely. So we think of document databases as data that is accessed together, is stored together. And so if you're a developer, this will be the last point. When you're a developer and you're making that, it's a paradigm shift. It's very hard to sort of change how you're thinking about storing data this way. But when you're writing your applications, think about how you query your data, and then all that data that you want query to use in your application, that's a good idea to store them together if you're accessing them all the time. I'll go over some quick terminology just because when I start talking, I'm going to say these things and you're going to be like, oh. In relational, you have databases. MongoDB has databases. Relational has tables. MongoDB has collections. A row in a relational database is a document, and a column in that row is a value or a field. Okay, now with that out of the way, What is GraphQL? And thank you for coming to the GraphQL talk. Can I just say that GraphQL is not a graph database, and I'm sure everybody probably knows that, but I didn't know that. So I wasted a lot of time like trying to figure out like learning about graph databases when it was nothing about GraphQL. So just in case you didn't know, just don't walk down that road. I'm actually doing this application I did this search application on, I'm just giving you a quick peek of where it's going to go. I did this search application on before the World Cup when I thought we're going to win. I thought it showed all over the time. But this is an application we're going to use in GraphQL later in the talk. So as I mentioned, I used to work at Twitch. I was an integration engineer. There were a handful of us, so there's more than one. So everything I used to do. And we have a rich set of REST APIs at Twitch. Does anybody play Twitch or use Twitch inside theirs? Okay, great. So here's what goes on behind the scenes at Twitch. We have all these. So for instance, Ubisoft. I worked with Ubisoft. I worked with Rovio. I worked with a lot of gaming companies, and I would tell them. My whole job was to explain to them our API system. Even though it was documented, I still had to kind of explain it to them. You'd have something where you could see who's playing your games. And then you could have another endpoint to see who's streaming those games. And then you could have another endpoint to say who's following that streamer. And you can do all of this stuff to figure out who is hitting those endpoints. So, for instance, any popular game that's streaming, I'm drawing a blank on any name right now, but let's say this game would want to see who's streaming their game so they can create actually we did have a company based in Atlanta that wanted to see who was streaming their game at the time, and then they did cross-authentication, and if you're watching somebody streaming that game, they gave you some coins or whatever, some weapon inside their tool. And then if you were and then you could also track how long they were watching, and you could up their inventory, and then you could see who their friends are and whatever. So the interesting thing about that is each of these APIs, each time you want to create this really rich experience, you want to find out all this different information, it's a different hit to the server. It's a lot of back and forth to the server. And so to minimize that as best we could, we tried to give as much information, make as much information available to on an endpoint. So if it's your user, we'd have your name, we'd have your email, we'd have your image, we'd have your handle, we'd have your friends. We could give you all those things, and then that requires for the user to hit certain scopes and do all those other things. But the problem is that when you get those endpoints, if you're doing an application, you hit that request, you get it back, it's a really big tamale, It's a lot of stuff when you really just want like a potato chip. So there were like lots of problems with GraphQL that we'd have, and the other problem is documentation was hard, updating was hard. So at Twitch, we always felt like we were just kind of jamming along, doing the right thing, when really it was always kind of, it was always a little of a headache. Like I said, this really should not be a job for so many people. It was a job for so many people, just communicating these things. So the problems that exist with REST APIs, and if you're using REST APIs, you can let me know if you agree or disagree. The changes in the REST APIs that happen all the time that impacts other apps. It's hard to maintain multiple versions. Overfetching is a big problem because you don't want to burden your app on the front end. Need multiple endpoints, multiple round trips to the server, and then of course all the documentation updates. So today I'm going to show you how we can kind of get around most of that. So in our GraphQL, in MongoDB, we offer lots of ways to do GraphQL, but I'm going to show you how we offer GraphQL inside MongoDB data. And the reason why I like it this way is because there are no servers. You don't need any servers. It's all serverless. We offer 2 serverless. It's instant. We're going to create it. We're going to start querying it right away. We have out-of-the-box authentication. all of this stuff you could even do on the free level. You don't even need a credit card if you want to just kind of practice it. And it's flexible. And that's my favorite part about GraphQL is that you're not just querying the data that you have, but you're querying all sorts of other data as well. Like you can hit external, you could include inside your schema data that's not even yours if it's available via an API. And we do that. I'll show you how to do that as well. So let me show you the data set that we have that we're going to use. So inside this, I'm going to use this. I have a players. It's from the FIFA 22 player data set. Somebody had it online. So it has about 100 fields inside each of these. And so I have the player's name. The overall is how highly rated they are. I have their country name. And I have inside here over 19,000 different players. There are 19,000 different players in the FIFA data set. So this is what we're going to use for our first GraphQL endpoint. And then I also found somewhere else, completely different data source, the countries historically, how they've done in the playoffs. So hopefully we can combine these. This will be one thing we'll do later. And then if we're lucky, we can make it to, I have a TikTok API that I would like to show how we do. So with that, let's I'm going to show you how to set it up from the beginning. So the first thing you need to do is inside here, so this is Atlas. So Atlas it's our managed database in the cloud, but it's actually more like a developer platform because you don't just have your data. We have all sorts of, we have a serverless backend, we have charts, we have triggers, we have just all sorts of rich environment that makes it easy for you as a developer. And I go a little bananas in this background. So the first thing I do is I'm going to click this button to go to App Services, and that would bring me here. And I'm going to create a new app. We're going to call this, JFocus. Except I always forget if it's a K or a C. JFocus. So in that, you saw that I was connected already to the database. I should have pointed it out, but I did not. And there are a few things that we need to do first. Actually, let me show you what we need to, what I was hoping to set up. So I've created the app service, but now that I've created that app service, I'm going to do GraphQL. You could connect to all these different types of data sources. You could do a data lake, database, external APIs. I am also doing search inside here via another function, via custom resolver. And then you can get that into GraphQL, and then you can put it out to other supergraphs. You could send it to other APIs. If you want to productize it, you could send it to your front end, which is what I'm going to do today. And so in my application, I'm actually took that soccer app that I kind of showed you a screenshot of earlier, and I made a completely new app just by getting all sorts of different information from it. So this is what it's going to kind of look like. So I have my MongoDB data set. I'm going to enrich it with using more like another custom resolver to do search with Lucene on top of it, and then hitting a TikTok API. So in setting it up, which is what I just kind of initiated in creating that app, there are 3 things that you need to do just to get started. You need to set up rules on top of your data. And by the way, you can set up rules on top of your data even if you're not using GraphQL. So for instance, if you have, tons of different fields, but you really only want people to access so many fields, you can just set up rules so those people can get it. Or if like certain people, you can tier access. You could tier read or write access to it, read or write or both or neither. So rules are something not necessary for GraphQL. I mean, it's necessary for GraphQL, but you can do it in more things than that. Schema, we're going to generate a schema right away. And authentication. So those are the 3 things that you need to set up for GraphQL, and then we're just going to do these 2 right now. So I set up the app, and then I'm going to go to rules. Actually, I'm going to get all these messages. So I'm going to do one quick thing and disable drafts here. It's going every time you make a deployment, it says, "Are you sure?" I'm just going to turn that off. Save a step later. So I'll go back to rules, and I'm going to go to my collection, soccer players. I'm going to read write all, make it simple. And I'm going to, actually for the final rounds, we're going to rewrite all that too. Just set that now. Now, rules, schema. Let's go to schema. So if I go to my player database, it's going to sample the data I have there and make a suggestion on schema. So it samples 500 out of the 19,000 and makes a suggestion. Now this is really long. So for instance, if I were to query this in GraphQL now, I would get all those fields. And I don't really want all this. It's a little lot. So you could make it customized as well. So let's get that. Hopefully. I never know which one I was doing. I'll go to this one. Should have put Postman on the other side. So let's do this. So now I'm going to get certain things in here. You can see I'm getting my positions, my player, their face for the card, the logos, etc. So I'm going to save this. And actually, so now that we have a schema created on collection, let's see what that looks like inside of GraphQL. So I go to GraphQL, and we have graphical, an interface for graphical in here. So right now, you could already see these were the fields that I said I wanted in my schema, and you could already see that I can query for this. So I'm just going to hit play, and it gives me a player, a random player that I want. I can hit players. So, well, actually, the first thing is I don't want everybody. So let me just show you how I can simplify that just by removing names, so removing fields. And that's going to bug me because, so now I have all the players and just those fields. So that's one way immediately that you'll feel the benefit, or your users will feel the benefit of it. As for documentation, you could look here on this side and you could see that this documentation kind of updates itself. So you can see what type of fields that you can do, what kind of commands you can make. It tells you what types of, because that's the deal when you have a GraphQL API, is that people have to know what they're getting. You have to know what you're sending, and you have this contract between you and your consumer of what's going to be there. And so this is here, and as you change your schema, it's automatically updated for everyone. So you could see if you query on the club name, it's a string. The underscore ID is an object ID. So that's that. And then we can do other things we could do here is if I wanted to query players for, let's say, I just showed you how the query, so it's going to be, so I'm going to follow this. So I'm going to query for, actually, I don't think I need that, country, Sweden, hopefully this works. Argument query has an invalid country. Let me have a look what I did. Let me see if this works. Oh, nationality name, that's why it's called. It's not called country in this. Sorry. Okay, so we got Ibrahimovic. We got right off the bat, and a lot of other easily pronounced names. so right now I've queried across my 19,000 documents just like that, and I have all this data. But the other thing we could do is you could see here that we can do all sorts of other operations to it right away. So I can do limit and sort by. So I will want to query national query, and then I do limit. Let's do 3 and sort by, and let's do overall descending. I think that's going to give me what I want. And so now I have the top 3 players in Sweden. So that was pretty easy. Now you can give people the top 3 players. We got Ibrahimovic. This is again from 22, so I don't know if this is still the same. It would be Isaac and Forsberg. Great. So that's how we get one thing right away. Let's go ahead and do another one. How are we on time? We're good. Let's say I want to do. I created the. Let's do the schema on the other collection. So I already created rules for my playoff data. So we're going to generate a schema for that. I'm going to go ahead and skip it because you saw how it generates. But let me grab the. That's going to drive me crazy. I'm sorry, I'm moving this around, but okay. Hopefully this is it. World Cup Live. Nope, that's not it. This is it. So World Cup final round. Let's save this. I think it's saved, just in case. Now we'll go back to our GraphQL, and you can see in queries that now we can query across that. So if I wanted to, again, let's simplify this, club name, long name, nationality name, short name, that's good. If I wanted to query across a World Cup, in addition to that, World Cup final round, I'll just get one document. So I have one player from Slovenia, Jan Oblak, and I have another player from France. So they're not related, but I'm getting that data now. And so now I can sort of do different things. If I wanted to relate them, actually, before I do that, I'm just going to show you. So now we know how to set up an endpoint inside GraphQL. Now it's working in MongoDB, but I want to show you that, prove to you that it can work externally. So now we're going to do that last step, that authentication step. So if I go back here, I'm going to do authentication. We're going to set up, whoops, actually I forgot. Hopefully I was on API key. No, API key. We're going to use API keys for this. Enable this, save it. Now I'm going to create an API key that I'm going to call API key because I'm mad creative like that. And let me copy it. So now I have this API key. Actually, let me write that down before I forget what it is. Okay. Actually, so now we're going to, let's do a new request. So now the inside of Postman. So this is Postman. This is me calling it from externally in the world. So I'm going to replace my API key here that I can call it. And GraphQL is always a post. And we are going to, let me get that GraphQL spots. So GraphQL. So we can do all those different queries, get all sorts of different data, but it's all one endpoint, which is pretty fantastic. So you don't have to do all these different endpoints, different gets, different posts, all from the same endpoint. Grab that endpoint. We'll go back to Postman. Post it here. And then I am going to, in my request, I'm in GraphQL. I might as well just show that one, but just to do whatever. Let me go ahead and grab this player, nationality name. Oh no, just grab some random things here. everything. Let's query for that, and then let's send it. I don't think I need that variable there, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, so I got that user there, and then if I wanted to, I can, let's see if it lets me. So, and then if I wanted to, like in this command, I wanted to query for one player from France. Just give me any player from France. So this is how I can use queries inside of it. I have these graphical variables here, and send. And so Loris, I guess, who plays for Hotspur. So the other thing I love about, I don't work for Postman, but I'm in deep love with Postman, and I came from a time where people were like, well, you got to use curl commands, and who would use Postman? But I mean, the people at Switch who write the APIs, they use Postman. Postman's pretty good. So the thing that I really like about Postman, in addition to everything, is that it gives me the code, so I can call this right away from my front end or whatever. So you could use an application, use Apollo, or you could do this from your front end. So I don't have to actually do any programming. I can just do this. So so that is one thing I can do. Now, so I showed you how we got players, and I showed you how we got country information based on whoever did well in the playoffs or whatever. Now I'm going to combine them. So let's say I look for Ibrahimovic, and I wanted to say, give me him, and then give me how Sweden does historically, which is not directly related to him, but it's related because they're the same country. So let's show how we can relate that. So I have them both inside. I have them both inside here as what was it called? World Cup final round. So again, if I do World Cup final round, it's going to give me, information about a player and the World Cup, but they're different. So I'm making two different requests here outside of this. So I'm going to combine them now inside the same call. This is where I start playing around with the schema. So I'm going to go to players, and I know that my nationality name is the name of the country, and it's equal to the country is the field inside of the World Cup final round thing. So I'm going to add a relationship, nationality name, correct database, World Cup final rounds, and I'm going to do country. Add. Save. Now if I go here, let's see what happens. Go here. Do I have club name? Where's my national? Oh, I see. It takes it out, and then I got to add it back in. Okay, so I'm going to do, that's fine. Take that out. Take that out, just for fun. And then I'm going to do a nationality name here. Nationality name. And so you can see that it's now added all of the fields that I put in the schema for the other thing. Now I'm not getting nationality name Sweden. I'm getting nationality, well, I didn't actually ask for Sweden, but now he's giving me here nationality name. Oh, for some reason that doesn't work, but so that should work. So anyway, and then if we go back to the front end, then all of these things will work. Let's see. So I have about 15 minutes left. I'm going to do. Let me see what I have left to talk about. I do want to do one more thing. I'm going to do with custom resolvers. Actually, let me see if I can get this. Oh yeah. So I'm going to do one more thing here with. I always do Mbappe, but I'm going to create another custom result. So I have a relationship, and now I'm going to go. So I have player data. I have the World Cup data. I'm combining them. GraphQL is combining them and sending them to user. And now I'm going to use custom resolvers. And in this custom resolver, I'm going to actually that's a pretty decent video. In this custom resolver, I'm going to do one thing in this custom resolver. We'll see if it works. I go to, and then I'll show, and then that one was a video of how I set it up with the TikTok API. So I'll just do this real quickly, see if I can do it, because I actually didn't practice. This is the one thing I did not practice this morning, so we'll see. So here we are in our interface for GraphQL. I'm going to go to custom resolver, add a custom resolver, search. Parent type, it's a query. Function is a new function. I'm going to call it search aggregation. And hopefully this will, let me see if I find that code so I don't have to do it off the top of my head. Close this. Here we go. Search aggregation. So I'm going to query for the name, and I'm going to say, so MongoDB, we offer search. So you can do, which means that you could do all sorts of things like wildcard and fuzzy matching. And fuzzy matching just means I don't have to spell Ibrahimovic ever. I could just do that. So we could do max edits 1 or max edits 2. I'll do max edits 2 because I'll probably mess them up a lot. So let's go ahead and save that. Input type, I don't know if I need that. Scalar type, I'm getting, when I get this back, I'm getting a existing type list. And I believe it's going to be a player. I'm really bad at this. Let's see. I'm going to have a quick cheat. Player. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll see. It's one of these player query inputs. Player. I feel like it should be player. Existing type. It's going to do existing type list, and it's. I think it's this player insert. Player query input. It's one of those. We'll see if it works. If it doesn't work, I'll just go on for the sake of time because I want to give you guys a chance to ask questions. So now I have this function linked. I don't know if I need to do this, but I don't know if I need to do that, but just in case. I don't think I need to do this because I'm calling it from inside my own application. When you have functions that are called, you could put authentication types on that as well. So now, if I go to GraphQL, hopefully this shows up. So now I have, inside of that, I can do search. So let's do, instead of doing player, I'll do search. I don't know if that'll just work. Let's see. Dang it. I'm really sorry. I know there's an easy way, but I just... I'm sorry? Oh. I... Oh. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was like, I can't understand what anybody's saying. Okay. You know what, let me take that out for the time being, just so I see if it works, because I don't know if it'll work. Oh, dang it, I can't do club jersey number. I have one bracket too much. Oh, I see. Let me see. So I have 1, It was fine the first time. Well, let me see what I have here. So I have, let me see, maybe it didn't save when I set it up. So add one more query is, yeah, I see that. I'm just, so my search, oh, thank you. I just told you guys. So let me go back to query. It needs to have an object. So my search query should be, right. So my search query should be short name, Mbappe. Hopefully this works. Oh, well, this is, let me see if it's in here. Input the variable search aggregation. Let's try this. No, that's fine. So for whatever reason, I insist on live coding, and I'm terrible at it. So I'm just going to show a video that I have of this. Why is this? Oh, input, search is input Mbappe. Oh, because when I set up the custom resolver, I set it up incorrectly. Is that what you're saying? Because I need to have, the input type needs to be a, input type needs to be a string. Scalar type, which is a string. Okay. Let's see if that works. Please, let it work, let it work. Let's try it one more time. I'm going to keep, that's fine. Okay, I probably, something in my customer resolver thing, I'm really sorry that I didn't practice it one more. But this, I do actually videotape some of these things, so I can do search aggregation on, I think it was either the input or the output payload I set up incorrectly, and that's gonna mess it up, but. So this is how I set it up for the TikTok API that we have. I did something like this on a live stream using a TikTok API, and there was, you never know what you're going to get on the TikTok when you do a search for something. So I thought it would probably be better to record it. And so what I did was, actually, let me pause this for a quick second. So inside the app right now, let me go back to wherever so inside this application right now, if I look for Mbappe, it's going to show me all sorts of different players. So I set it up yesterday on a different thing, so I'm kind of cheating. But basically, this is what it's supposed to look like if it works. So I have my players. I have how many championships Senegal and England and France has won in the World Cup historically, and I could even misspell Ibra. I'm not sure if Ibrahimovic. Am I getting close? Is that good? It's up there, C with the funny thing. And I actually find him and I can kind of misspell him as well. So this is the application that I'm building off of. And so I added another custom resolver here with the TikTok API. So this is where, oh, it was player query input. I don't know if that was the one I set. And then the, and then this is how it, hopefully this is how it works in the end, and there should be some sound in this. So now I have all these players, and I can actually look into this.
Challenge with the one and only Kylian Mbappe. Let's go.
Sorry, it makes me happy. So the other thing I did, and if I could just show you here for a second, is I actually used another custom resolver on top of that. So I did the custom resolver for search. I did the custom resolver for the TikTok API. And then I have something here that finds more players like this. I used another function. It's another field where I can do that. And then I feed that into the back end. And then this is how it comes out inside the application. So let's see if I can. And so in this application, when I programmed this was the day he had that amazing goal. That was something epic. So he deserved a little call out here. Okay, great. So I think I am just about done. Let me go to the next, make sure I'm covering everything that needs to be covered. So player data, World Cup data, custom resolver for Atlas Search. I did the custom resolver for TikTok. And then that's all there is. I have a few minutes for questions. Do we have a few minutes for questions? Thank you guys very much. I'm sorry about all the, I don't know why I do that to myself every time. So I can actually see.
So do we have any questions?
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
By the way, all these applications, I have soccer and stuff, they're all hosted online. And if you come by the booth, first of all, if you come by the booth, because I'm sure we have a lot of swag, it's, afraid you don't want to hear about anything, you can still just take the swag, it'll be fine. But we have a lot of these applications online, and they show you, for instance, I have Atlas Search Soccer, Atlas Search Restaurants, Atlas Search Indexes, Atlas Search Movies, and as you write out the code, it'll actually give you the code blocks for it. If you're using any of those technologies, it'll save you a step when you're troubleshooting. Okay, now take your question about GraphQL. They said that people in Sweden were quiet, and so I can never tell if this is if this is good or not. But don't be shy. If Sergey was here, he would ask questions. And I will be at the booth for the next hour if anybody has any questions they want to ask silently. Okay. Thank you, guys.